Black Americans stand up and fight back against the racist regime. Planned Parenthood cancels Margaret Sanger for her race war against inner-city America. Tucker Carlson canceled, Fox News auto-destructs, and CNN bottoms out. What's it all about? What are the globalists in the church and in the state so afraid of that they're trying to cancel everyone and everything that matters? Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am Michael Mann. This is the Remnant Underground. Welcome. We have a lot to get to tonight. I'm going to touch on this Fox News situation, Tucker Carlson. I know a lot of people are worried about that. I think just at the outset, people claiming that, first of all, when you talk about Fox News, we were never looking at Fox as though it's the answer and they're the leaders and, oh my gosh, they're just this citadel of orthodoxy. That's not the point. And I think it's important because people say, well, Tucker Carlson, who cares if he gets thrown off the air? He's like controlled opposition. To which I say, well, do you feel better this morning? Are you glad he's gone? Are you eager to go through, the next presidential election without those guys on Fox, especially Tucker Carlson, firing away at the Great Reset crowd, at the whole Democrat takeover of this country? Probably not. So I want to premise everything we're going to say in a few minutes about all that by noting the obvious, that the reason it's interesting and the reason it's important to talk about this is because it represents the noose tightening around the necks of all independent journalists as well. Because before you could say, well, you know what, at least on Fox they're still talking about Davos, at least on Fox they're still talking about abortion, on Fox they're still talking about transgenderism, and they're huge, right? Well, take them out, and I'm not saying they're all gone yet, but take them out, which seems to be what this is. The next step down are the independent journalists. So it's really hard to separate this from what we do and from what a lot of people are doing on a more independent basis. But before we get to all that, I want to do a quick follow-up to last week's program, in which we talked about the city of Chicago, the Blue Cities, turning into pretty much all-out war zones now, and a singular lack of any serious moral or spiritual response from the Catholic Church, because there's a connection here to what's happening to Fox, what just happened to Tucker Carlson, what's happening to traditional Catholics as far as Pope Francis canceling the most successful thing in the Catholic Church today, the Latin Mass communities. Why is he doing this? I want to talk about this. And so we look at what's happening in these cities. Look at a guy like Father Michael Flagger, probably the most well-known Catholic priest in Chicago, unfortunately. And what's he doing? Is he trying to bring people back to Christ? Is he trying to bring the moral law of the church back? No, he's accusing Walmart of being racist, as we showed you last week, of being racist for pulling their stores out of a completely untenable situation where there's nothing but riot, bloodshed, thieving going on, and no moral authority to rein it in. But of course, it's not just Walmart. Here in the underground, we too are considered racist and dangerous for daring to observe the obvious about what's happening to our country. That, for example, the most egregious racists in this country are these left-wing lunatic Democrats who've been exploiting the black community for decades. You see? Oh, we're not supposed to talk about that, right? I realize that. But you simply cannot separate abortion from what's happening. If you have young people growing up in an environment where everybody from the mayor to mom to dad to the siblings are fine with your little sister, your little brother being exterminated in the womb, where is this young person supposed to get any appreciation for life at all? They're living in a culture of death in inner city America, and that's the problem. And instead of anybody trying to do anything about it, they're just going hog wild to lift all restrictions on abortion. It's happening right now in Minneapolis, in Minnesota, this crazy governor of ours. They have billboards all over this town. Lift Minnesota's restrictions on abortion now. Trouble is, there are no restrictions on abortion. So what's going on here? You see? But this is key. This is the moral component that's key to understanding everything that's happening to our country. So let's not forget, for example, which community it was that was annihilated first by Margaret Sanger and her psycho, creepy, old eugenicists a long time ago.
Planned Parenthood of Greater New York is removing the name of Margaret Sanger, a founder of the national organization, from its Manhattan clinic. The abortion provider says it made the decision because of Sanger's, quote, harmful connections to the eugenics movement. Pro-lifers are responding. In a statement, Susan B. Anthony List says, quote, the next step for Planned Parenthood is recognizing that Margaret Sanger's racist legacy continues today as abortion continues to disproportionately impact minority communities, especially the black community.
So finally, Planned Parenthood itself finally had to come out, and that conspiracy theory became another spoiler alert, didn't it? It turns out Planned Parenthood has been after the minority communities from the very start. So how does that make you feel, Black America? Are you really going to keep doing it? Supporting guys like Joe Biden, who can't wait to exterminate all of us, but especially the inner city, lower income communities. He can't wait. He's just fixated on abortion.
The Vice President and I are doing everything to protect access to reproductive health care.
Right? And they're not even denying it anymore. And now you've got social, moral, of course, spiritual chaos in all of these communities. Not according to me, but according to Black Americans who've simply had enough.
I'm about to make some people mad. And as I see it, the Black community is the weakest link in the United States, and we need to step it up. Where are these children's parents? So yeah, the world sees Black children out here acting like this, and then we as Black people want to get mad when Black children or Black people are stereotyped as dangerous or people feel unsafe around us. If we don't want to be stereotyped in a negative light, let's not give people something to stereotype us about.
Whoopsie, better cancel that guy because his message clearly doesn't fit the narrative, does it? You know, and this has been going on for a while. We did that clip of, who's the actor? Denzel Washington, long time ago. Yeah, you want to blame the system for the fact that they've broken and shattered the family in the inner cities, especially in the Black community?
I was in Chicago a couple of 3-4 weeks ago, and we saw these little kids on bikes with masks on the side of their head, like 5 or 6 of them. And the driver said, yeah, they're little yummies. I said, who? He said, little yummies. Look up, Google Little Yummy. Little Yummy was an 11-year-old murderer.
Wow.
And you look at his picture, you'll see the headshot of him, and he's like this. And he got murdered at 11 by a 14-year-old.
Wow.
Who's doing life now, and a 16-year-old.
That makes no sense.
You blame the system? Where was his father? Yeah. It starts in the house. It starts in the home.
All of this is to bait all of us into a race war and distract us from an attack on America, its Constitution, and primarily, it's an attack on God. If you're a believer, you got to wake up and look at what they're doing. They're attacking God. You think they're attacking you. They're not. They're attacking God.
So all these guys are the Reverend Al Sharpton's wake-up screaming nightmare, right? Because they don't fit the narrative. Black Americans speaking out, only to discover that the racist Democrat Party, that the racist mainstream media refuses to let them speak. Because this is what they're trying to say.
Doesn't it make you cringe as I read that to you? Makes you crawl in your skin. It's a dastardly deed. The question today is, who is the pervert that's allowing this to be purchased and delivered to our libraries? Who is the pervert that signs off on this bill? Who are you? What do you stand for to accept this? Can you be in your right mind and be decent as a human to allow this to be at the access and the fingertips of children? We know who the perverts are. There's one political party in this country that supports this junk. It's the Democrat Party. It's a party that castrates children, mutilates children, perverts children, grooms children, murders children, and indoctrinates children. We know who the perverts are. Who is the pervert?
Dang. Did you feel that? Did you feel that? The truth is so powerful when it's presented like that, especially when everyone around you is living a lie. The truth is so powerful. We can't do anything other than double and triple and quadruple down on speaking the truth, okay? And it's working. It's not the end. You think Tucker Carlson's just going to disappear ride off into the sunset and never be seen again?
He might if he's had enough.
He's riding around on a golf cart right now, looking like he's having a lot of fun with his wife and 4 kids. You're right. He might just do that. But I somehow think he won't. This guy's going to get bigger and stronger than ever, unshackled now from the folks at Fox who are not in a position to allow him to say what he wants to say. So that's the big story that everybody's talking about, the firing of Tucker Carlson. And I'm not going to sit here and claim that my sources close to the Carlson camp tell me that that's not the point. We're just going to look at this and see how it relates to us, how it relates to our situation as Americans facing a really, really crazy period now coming up at the hands of these lunatics. So first of all, what would I say to Tucker Carlson? First of all, I would say, welcome to our world, Tucker. I mean, I personally come from 150 years and 5 generations of newspaper men, and these same people that took you out, Mr. Carlson, have been at it for a long time. They're after my family for a century or more. The Nazis, for example, banned my grandfather's newspaper. They tried to cancel him, right, in Germany, because they had a lot of German subscribers in those years. This is back in the 30s and 40s. The Soviets, the Soviet Union, condemned my family's newspaper in the pages of Pravda. And then they urged the U.S. State Department to shut my grandfather down, man. Cancel this guy. It's been going on for a long time. Back in 2007, the Southern Poverty Law Center tried to cancel us, too. They called me the leader of a hate group, right? These are the same people, by the way, who provided the research for the FBI a few weeks ago when they came after Latin Mass Catholics, the Southern Poverty Law Center, where they've been after us for years and years. And it's only made us stronger because we have a much clearer understanding of the new Gestapo that we all face now, thanks to that attack from 2007. And now the same anti-God, anti-country, anti-family, New World Order fanatics are trying to cancel everyone, who tells the truth about anything, even high-profile, extremely successful media personalities. Do you see why that's encouraging? I'm going to talk about that in a minute. It's not just us anymore. They got to go after everybody, including people that are reaching millions. Why? Because the truth is getting out. So where Tucker Carlson's firing is concerned, I mean, I'm sorry, I don't mean to sound insensitive, but duh, of course. We knew that was going to happen. It really wasn't so much what Tucker Carlson was saying, but where he was saying it. Fox News, probably the most powerful news agency in this country right now, whose programming is broadcast, and this is important, broadcast into millions of homes, whether those homes are conservative or liberal. You see? That's why he had to go, because lots of people who don't agree with him were encountering his show and hearing his message. He had to go. So over the past few years, it was, as I say, a big deal when even Fox personalities were saying the same things that we've been saying for years in this newspaper, in this program, for years. Even Fox. That's not a compliment. That's not saying, Fox, lead us into the breach. Oh, holy, wonderful, powerful. No, even Fox was getting the message. Even EWTN now is getting the message. You see what's happening? So they have to cancel because they can't persuade. I'm talking about the revolution. It has to cancel and crush because it no longer has the luxury of being able to lie and persuade. And that message is the same. We've been saying it forever. There's a new Christophobic world order that's rising. And again, even Fox News was starting to talk about that. And this order is anti-God, it's anti-family, it's anti-country. So it has a direct, it's the same enemy that we as traditional Catholics fight and have been fighting for 50, 60 years. Only our ultimate solution is the social kingship of Jesus Christ. And it still is. And you know what? Some of these people who are in high-profile positions, like a Tucker Carlson, were drawing nearer and nearer and nearer to that same conclusion. God has to be brought back. But people are still asking the question, but why would the Fox News channel cancel this guy when he was the one who was instrumental in bringing their network to dominate the ratings? It makes no sense, right? Well, if you look at the Catholic Church right now, which is also run by a globalist, you might ask the same question. Why would the Vatican, why would Pope Francis cancel the Latin Mass movement? The one thing that's working in an otherwise utterly dysfunctional church. It makes no sense, right? But you see, that's that old normal talk we talked about again. Can't do that. Can't go there anymore because this is the new normal, where ideology trumps everything. It trumps the will of the people. It trumps success. It trumps numbers of viewers. It trumps capitalism. It even trumps, and this is the surprise for a lot of people, it even trumps making money, because it used to be whatever makes money is going to go. It's going to fly. We're going to stick with it. Not anymore. But Bud Light's a great example of that. They were making money.
Yep.
Didn't matter. Now they're not so much, which is good, and which is encouraging for all of us, because you think you can't do anything. You think we can't do anything against this? Look at Bud Light. That's going really well. Look at the hit that Fox News took. When they got rid of Tucker Carlson, they lost a lot of millions and millions of dollars. You see, we actually can do something. And again, we're going to talk about that. But the reality is we have to understand the enemy. This enemy is not trying to convince you anymore, friends. They're trying to terrorize you. They're not a mere political party rival like it used to be. They're occupiers, friends, both in the country and in our church, in the Catholic Church. They're occupiers. And this is the world that they have in mind for us.
Do not worry. Hundreds of alternative protein manufacturing facilities have been constructed on each continent. They process thousands of tons of protein-rich food. This alternative food contains way more protein than beef. It is cheap to cultivate and it doesn't contribute to global warming. Kudos to science and green agenda. That is all for today. Stay tuned for tomorrow's news.
Bruce Kowalski. Your monthly universal basic income has been deposited into your account. For more information, press details. Food ration fee. Recycling fee. Clean energy fee. Personal greenhouse gas emissions fee. Climate change fee. Diversity fee.
Now there's a link down below. Watch that whole thing. They did a fantastic job on sort of capturing the spirit and the mood of the future, the dark, depressing, horrific, Christless future that these lunatics have in mind for us. And the thing is, where it used to be a few traditional Catholics or maybe a few evangelical Christians were worried about that sort of future, anti-Christ future, lots of people see it now. Tucker Carlson, for example, was among the few mainstream media guys who saw it coming, began seeing it coming, who saw the Great Reset for what it actually is. And that's why they got rid of him. That and because he was beginning to realize that if you're going to go up against demons like that, we're going to create the world we just showed, then you better have God on your side.
Maybe we should all take just like 10 minutes a day to say a prayer about it. I'm serious. Like, why not? And I'm saying that to you, not as some kind of evangelist. I'm literally saying that to you as an Episcopalian. The Samaritans of our time. I'm coming to you from the most humble and lowly theological position you can. I'm literally an Episcopalian, okay? And even I have concluded it might be worth taking just 10 minutes out of your busy schedule to say a prayer for the future. And I hope you will.
Exactly right. And that's why the demons are positively euphoric that this guy is gone.
Tucker Carlson is out at Fox News. Couldn't have happened to a better guy.
What an inconsequential little nutter, Sandy Cortez, the useful idiot who does exactly what she's told to do, and that's it. No more, no less. Just like a good little prostitute does. But did you ever see AOC stand against her own party, her own people, the Democrats? Kind of like Tucker Carlson did routinely when he stood against the rhinos, against the Republicans, pretty much all of them. Of course not. AOC never did anything like that because she's a little MP4 disc or file. Somebody else puts the content in there, and then the media folks just push play, right?
Deplatforming works.
So why is it that a guy like Tucker Carlson goes through this meteoric rise to international prominence? It's because the truth still matters even in this world. The truth still exists, and there's a massive market for it. There's not a massive market for what AOC is peddling, right?
Deplatforming works.
Now, here's the thing where you might disagree with me. People say, why would the moguls, I get it, they're not conservative, Murdoch and company, but why'd they want to get rid of Tucker Carlson? That doesn't make sense. Why'd they want to do that? And I think the answer is they didn't. They absolutely did not want to get rid of that guy. He was a cash cow for their network, for them personally. But they were given no choice. And again, if you look at the parallel in the Catholic Church right now, there's plenty of bishops around the world, especially in this country, who want nothing to do with canceling the Latin Mass communities in their diocese, which are thriving and which are making money, by the way. But they're being told to. It's the same globalist entities are shutting everything down. And again, once we understand that, I think we're going to be able to fight them in a more cohesive way because we're picking up powerful allies to stand against them now. So when it comes to media, what we're looking at with Fox, well, they didn't want to fire the guy, but they had to. So what are we looking at? To me, we're looking at a classic shutdown of independent or privately owned news agencies. That's why even if you hated Fox's guts and you hate Tucker Carlson, he's controlled opposition, it's going to affect you because we're looking at a huge, monumental shift, a seismic shift in this country. Even CNN is being phased out, kind of, right? You've seen their numbers? How much longer will the mighty and powerful CNN survive what's happening? I think big media is being reimagined. It's part of the Great Reset. Because the goal here is to establish state-sponsored media only, as it always is in revolutions like this. Only this is global. So you may hate Fox News, but believe me, if you go to Europe, there's nothing like Fox News. There's no conservative nightly news programs speaking against the regime. It's not allowed. Just like it was not allowed in the Soviet Union, just like it was not allowed during the Nazi occupation in Germany. The Chinese communists right now are doing the same thing. Do you know that one of the first orders of business for President Zelensky was to consolidate all TV platforms in Ukraine into one state broadcast so his regime could control the news that people get?
Let's look at what kind of democracy Zelensky is leading in Ukraine. He not only jailed his political opponents very, very, very early on, he banned their entire political party. There are so many different, he shut down any media that was not controlled by him and his government.
People who got burned by the neocons, by the lies of the Iraq invasion 20 years ago, aren't going to do it again. They haven't forgotten what happened, what that meant, how they were deceived by a government that no longer tells the truth to its own people.
I've spent my whole life in the media. My dad was in the media. Like, that is a big part of the revelation that's changed my life, is the media are part of the control apparatus. Like, there's no, yeah, I know, because you're younger and smarter and you're like, yeah. But what if you're me and you spent your whole life in that world, and to look around and all of a sudden you're like, oh, wow. Not only are they part of the problem, but I spent most of my life being part of the problem, defending the Iraq war. Like, I actually did that. Can you imagine if you did that?
Well, what do you think? What is one of your biggest regrets in your career?
Oh, defending the Iraq war.
No, I think COVID 1984 woke Carlson up, and he started questioning everything, as one does when suddenly the blinders come off and you realize the blindfold comes off and you realize you've been deceived. So he started asking questions about everything. This is how we all knew his days at Fox were numbered. He questioned January 6th. He questioned what was going on in Ukraine. He questioned vaccines, the CIA, even who shot JFK finally. It was like he was begging to be taken off Fox News. But that's the problem, you see, because folks on TV today, remember we started this off with COVID 3 years ago or whatever. They're telling you on TV that you're sick. You're not actually. You're okay. But they're scaring the hell out of you on TV, and they did it constantly doing that. And folks on TV are only allowed to say and to do now what the global elites allow them to say and do.
Hi, I'm Fox San Antonio's Jessica Headley.
And I'm Ryan Wolf.
Our greatest
responsibility
is to serve our
Treasure Valley communities,
the El Paso, Las Cruces communities, Eastern Iowa communities,
Mid-Michigan communities.
We are extremely proud of the quality, balanced journalism that CBS 4 News produces.
But
we are concerned about troubling, irresponsible, one-sided news stories plaguing our country.
So lots of people thought they knew what was going on in Ukraine, but no, they were just hearing that sort of nonsense by media personalities. Or how about COVID? People thought they knew what COVID was all about. They were masking up and doing crazy things, separating themselves, not going to holiday celebrations with family, right? They thought they knew the truth. But they only knew what the elites wanted them to know.
The sharing of biased and
False news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish things that simply aren't true without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
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 This is extremely dangerous to our democracy. This is the video I'm going to show 1,000,000 times over anytime someone asks me why independent content creation matters.
And I know a lot of people get upset when we talk about Elon Musk, because Musk has got his problems, but he does present a threat to this, to all of us, to the regime. Not because he's a conservative, I stress this, not because he's a conservative, but because he's letting people speak. You see? Speech, as Orwell would have said, was counter-revolutionary. Being allowed to speak can change everything. So Tucker Carlson's first video message then, after being fired by Fox, broke the internet because he was able to deliver it on Twitter.
Good evening, it's Tucker Carlson. One of the first things you realize when you step outside the noise for a few days is how many genuinely nice people there are in this country. Kind and decent people, people who really care about what's true, and a bunch of hilarious people also, a lot of those. It's got to be the majority of the population, even now. So that's heartening. The other thing you notice when you take a little time off is how unbelievably stupid most of the debates you see on television are.
67 million people saw that message from Tucker Carlson on Twitter the other night. More than all the viewers for 2 or 3 nights of all the conservative programs on Fox News. In one night, 67 million views. This is why they hate the crazy billionaire, for one thing, because he replatformed conservatives who have been deplatformed, and that actually matters, whether or not you like the guy or not. Because the truth resonates with the masses even today, even still. While the lies of the global elites resonate with precisely nobody. You see? Nobody. We're going to take your car. We're going to take your hamburgers. We're going to take your steak. We're going to take your house. We're going to take your freedom and your kids. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants what the elites are peddling, what they're trying to shove down our throats. So you see why speech actually truly does matter. People say, well, that's a Freemasonic right to attack the... Fine. But the reality is, at this point, we're told we have freedom of speech. They're trying to take that away. If you have freedom of speech, you can make a difference. If you don't have freedom of speech, you're in the gulag. Which do you want to do? And so they're canceling us because we're still able to speak. YouTube, it's a constant fight here at Remnant TV with the snowflakes running YouTube, trying to shut us down, trying to give us strikes to the channel, trying to pull our videos down, right? Trying to silence us. And then in the government, you got Joe Biden and company calling us racist and white supremacists, whatever they can to shut us down, to run us all off into little echo chambers where they think we will encounter precisely nobody who doesn't already agree with us. And that, friends, is their mistake. That's where they're wrong. Speak the truth and people will find you, like moths find a flame. So our independent platform here, remnanttv.com, for example, is doing just fine right now. It's doing great. We have more views here than we do on YouTube and Rumble combined. It's a lot of views. Because nobody, at the moment, nobody in the regime, they think they don't have to care if you're off mainstream. And nobody's watching us because they think we're talking only to people who already agree with us. The trouble is, historically speaking, that's not been the case. In fact, it's been in the catacombs where the truth goes to get strong, not to die. It's where it goes to get strong enough to topple mighty empires, if we look at the history of Christianity. But people didn't go to the catacombs. Christians didn't go to the catacombs to live. They went to the catacombs to become spiritually strong, to plot, and to go back up to topside, to preach the faith, preach the truth, maybe die, but change history, topple the empire. See, that's what happens in catacombs. Francis is making the same mistake right now. He thinks he can cancel us by canceling the diocesan Latin Mass church people, right? But he's wrong, because we've all been in the catacombs before. That's where we started out, and we'll go there again. But everywhere we look, we see the same pattern. Globalist nerds trying to cancel their competition. Why are they trying to cancel the competition? Because they can't compete. That's why. And because obviously, you can't handle the truth. They're trying to cancel us, sure, but they're also trying to cancel some pretty powerful people. You know, from the little remnant to the President of the United States, for example. From powerful mainstream media personalities to the richest man in the world. Why? Because the truth is a wildfire, and the wildfire is getting out of control. And they're having trouble putting it out. And while they're trying to put it out, they're exposing themselves. Because we never gave up on the truth, right? We never backed down. Talk about the traditional Catholic movement, talk about that all the time. I remember when it was in a few basements here and there. Now it dominates the Pope. You know, he's up there just freaking out over it. How can I get rid of that little mass movement? That's what the truth does. Because the revolution, yeah, they've got our buildings, but we kept the faith. And so they're out there making fools of themselves, friends, right now. Why? Because all their high-tech efforts to wash our brains failed. Because the world is looking at them right now and they're saying, seriously? You just canceled the guy with the highest ratings in the industry? Why? What are you doing? What are you so afraid of? Right? Or in the Catholic Church. Seriously? Pope Francis? You just canceled the Latin Mass with the largest weekly attendance in the church today, teeming with vocations and huge congregations. Why? What are you so afraid of? You see how they're exposed? And that's just the point. They're exposing themselves. They're outing themselves because they're afraid of the truth, friends. Please, we have to understand this. It's been on the Achilles heel of the traditional Catholic movement for far too long. That we are who we are and that we do what we do just merely to survive, not to take the revolution down. But see, that's not the way soldiers of Christ should think. It's not just about our survival. It's about the confidence that if we stand with Christ, he will take the enemies of the cross down. And all we need to do is hang on. The truth, the reality, no matter how bad, how dark, how bleak it looks right now, the reality is the truth was never crushed. The truth is making a comeback. And the people with the tackle box on their face, you know, everything's hooked and green and monsters going around, they're the ones that supposedly we're intimidated by. They're going to be gone. They have no future. Look what they're doing to themselves. Just leave them alone. They'll kill themselves. They already are. They're killing their babies. They're castrating themselves. And the reality is those of us who are looking at that and saying, oh my gosh, what is happening to the world? That group is getting larger and larger and larger. And the revolution can't possibly cancel all of us. And cancellation, friends, is nothing more than proof that the revolution has simply run out of ideas. Cancel everybody! Persecute them! Off with their heads! Never works, does it? Starve the lions! Well, that worked out pretty great the last time around, didn't it? So the question is, as you look at these bizarre events unfolding, you know, what are we going to do? What's the game plan here? Don't back down, right? Just keep doing what we're doing because it seems to be working. We have everybody from the Vatican to the mighty media moguls at Fox News freaking out over what we're trying to do here. So support now, yeah, support the independent media. Fox News got started, what, 1996? It was nothing in 1995. So support the independent media. Thank God there's lots of us out here who are trying to rebuild with the idea and the attitude that we eventually will win. And more importantly, become a loud and proud soldier of Jesus Christ, because that's the thing for which they have no answer. I said last time, if you're a young person, young family just starting out, have as many kids as you possibly can, because they have no answer for that either. And remember this, friends, we have to believe this. We must believe that in the end, we are going to beat them. We got to believe that. In here, you have to believe it. You've got to believe. If you think you can't beat them, then you won't. So believe. Trust in God. Speak the truth and give them hell.